Show me the money. Hey, welcome to KetoMom. My name is Steve Milky. This is my beautiful wife, Stephanie, aka KetoMom. And today we are going to talk about finances and why it's so important in identifying your Chazown.
Yes, I love it. So if you've been tuning in at any point in time, we go through this Chazown book every morning except on the weekends. But we're going through the book to help you understand that you have a purpose and you have a calling. And so there's things that maybe you're not doing because you don't feel worthy, or maybe you feel like, oh, I could never do that. My hope is that you've been listening and following along in the book. So we've been talking about lots of different areas of your life. And right now we're going through the spokes like a tire. Looks like this. But we've talked about your spiritual spoke. We've talked about your relationships or friend spoke. We're going to go through finances today. Then we go through your health spoke tomorrow. Then we go through your work spoke. And if you understand that your whole life kind of it's affected by everything that you are, not just by one thing.
That's good.
And if you evaluate where you're at today, and if you have an understanding of, oh, I didn't realize that my financial spoke would affect the other areas of my life. If you have an understanding of that, you know what to kind of fix and go after so that your tire rolls. Right?
Got to keep the
momentum.
The wheels spinning.
Right. If you feel like you're stuck or you're not going anywhere, this is really great I sounded very Minnesotan.
Well, on that note, I also too.
Did you hear
I saw someone rolling down the highway the other day. I can't remember what kind of car it was, but the back tire was going like this. And if that is kind of like, if your life is unbalanced in a sense of where the tire is got some holes or some chunks in it, it's just a matter of time before that wheel goes womp, womp, womp. Boom. It's going to happen.
Crash.
Or it just explodes.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. So as you're tuning in, we'd love to know where you're tuning in from. We're tuning in from Minnesota.
I think it's
where we love hot dish.
No, we have to travel again because it is actually becoming real. You're starting to talk more and more.
I know.
Like this.
So I went to a women's conference this weekend, and her name, if you followed along and you've been going through these books for over a year, we did a book called Dream It, Pin It, Live It by Terry Savelle Foy. Anyways, I got to see her.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
She is amazing.
I got to see her live. She was at a church with two of my daughters and my mom and my mother-in-law. I say all of that because she talks about vision. We talked about gratitude. And, oh, shoot, there's a reason. You said something.
I said something?
Well,
it's just a matter of time before it comes crashing down.
Well,
if you're not living out your wheels.
I don't know. She said something that I was going to say, and then I got distracted by Steve. Oh. You're a handsome good looks.
Well, I feel like this angle of the camera is not helping me. This is not double. This is just fuzz.
All right, here's the deal. We're going to go...
Does that help?
Does that help you?
Hey, I'm just trying to make the people laugh. I'm curious where you tuned in from. Yes, I agree.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
She's saying drink more ketones.
Okay. Yeah. I actually drank more. Here's what I was going to say. So she came, she spoke, she casted vision. It was so amazing. I'm actually going to share some little snippets. I've got to write them down. I'm working on writing them down so I can share with you. But she is from the South. And she said, oftentimes if you're in our home, you'll hear our girls pretend they're from England, or they're like trying to do accents like they're in the South. Our kids.
Okay, I was going to say our kids.
They often say like, oh, good day. How are you doing? And they'll walk around our house all day long with a different accent. Well, it was so funny because Terry said when her and her siblings were young, they would pretend they were from Minnesota, and they would try really hard to have you betcha. Would you like to go down to the, water? And
no, we don't say water.
I don't know.
Like that. That was really bad.
I don't know how Minnesota's taught. Can you hear that we're from Minnesota?
Okay, that water comment was because we have a friend who lives in Australia, and it's the difference between how they say water and then
they say
water. They feel like United States people say water.
So a really funny story, and then we're going to move on with our book. Our friends from Australia, their girls were little. They were like 2 and 4 when they moved here, and they were learning from their teachers, right? And so they would come home and they'd be like, Mommy, I would like a snack and some water. because they were learning how to speak.
Does that make you cringe every time she does this story?
I love it so much. And they were like, "Oh no,
that.
Oh no, Liv, we do not say water. We say water." And so they actually would not speak to their children or answer them until they used their Australian accent because they didn't want them to lose it. It was so funny.
Let's just pretend you never had it, and that's one thing we're not going to work on is you getting yours.
I think I'm very good at Australian accents.
Oh.
All right. We are going to dive into our financial spoke.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope that this
Why
is
is it so important to talk about our financial spoke? Because you want to know what?
Oh, because money is very important.
Well,
because we love money.
Well,
You're
no.
supposed to love money.
No.
No.
No. We're going to give you a biblical aspect, but also life in general. But I'll give you an example. Oftentimes,
I thought money made you happy, though.
No. Nope. So if you're like, listen, I'm here for ketones or keto recipes, head over to ketomomsecrets.com.
But they can also make money off of ketones.
ketomomsecrets.com for all the recipes that you want. Today we're diving into our third spoke. We've already talked about spiritual spokes, your spiritual life.
That one is very important.
We talked about your friends, your relationships.
Friends are everything.
Here's a couple things
Have you identified your 5 friends?
Guys,
are they impacting your life?
I'm reading them something. Okay, did you know that 3 out of 4 Americans live paycheck to paycheck every month, always fearfully wondering if they are going to have enough money?
Yes.
Only 35% of Americans pay off their credit card bills each month, and 65% don't.
Okay, so 75% of people are living paycheck to paycheck.
65% of people never pay off their credit cards.
Okay, so do you all realize that means like 1 to you, 1 to you, not paying off your credit cards. The amount of interest that is being charged to you is crazy.
We were blessed when we first got married to have some mentors come in and teach us about money. We actually went through something called the Dave Ramsey plan, to where we really understood the power of money, not the love of money, the understanding that it can be a tool and how to use it. I'm not saying that we're perfect, but we did. We actually we had people that walked us through it.
Well, I think we should. I hope this encourages you because we weren't perfect, but we had a plan.
We actually
had a budget, and we were brand new, married. We had just finished college.
We had a budget.
We were using envelopes.
Envelope system.
And the reality is, it's because we were diligent in making sure we never had credit card debt, and it's because we were diligent in getting our student loans paid back.
Right.
You know what? You don't need a handout. Like, you got to do some hard work.
Yeah.
You got to set a budget. You got to get those things paid off because the interest that you're paying the banks, it's ridiculous. It's like highway robbery. So I want to encourage you.
Yes.
Let it be a season, because it was a season for us that was not, it wasn't like it was super difficult, but it was hard. But we've talked about this often. You have to choose your hard. It's hard to get out of debt, but it's also hard to be super broke and living paycheck to paycheck. We were super
intentional. Like when we had a birthday card with money in it, we put it towards our debt. When we had random checks come in the mail for things like
checks in the mail.
Well, you guys, I want to hear a crazy story. We were young. We were brand new married. We were 20, 21. And I remember something happened to where I was working at the bank, or I just remember getting a phone call, and I remember going, "Oh, you called me and you said, hey, you got a refund." It was $1,000. And for us, that was a ton of money back then. And I remember going, awesome, put it towards our credit, put it towards our student loans, right? There were so many times I think it's easy to go, oh, I should go buy this. I could go buy that. It's and what does this have to do with your health? Actually, a lot. Because if you don't pay attention, like if this is a stressor in your life, it causes people to eat.
It's so true.
If this is a stressor in your life, it's easy to be like, anything that's going to stress you out. It seems as though it correlates to people overeating and eating out of their emotions, which causes terrible health.
It's so true. I mean, if you can relate, I'm sure you can relate. I think we've all had to deal with this at some point. And I will say this. One of the greatest things I'm so thankful for is the fact that we did hard things when we first got married.
Yep.
Our first year wasn't like it was easy. We were learning how to live together.
No, it was actually the hardest year of our life.
And so I want to encourage anyone who's brand new married or thinking about getting married, have some good mentors in your life because it means a lot.
Right.
It's important to set a budget. And so things can change. Like as your finances increase, which we can help you with those types of ideas of how to generate more cash flow.
Right.
So important. But if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Oh, I circled that.
And the reason why it's so important is because when you don't have margin in your finances, and when you don't have margin in these areas of the spokes that we talk about, that stress creates so much cortisol in your body. And one, that's not good for longevity. It's not good for overall health. But I think you're right. That's probably why most people overeat, is because it's something that makes them feel good in the moment.
Right.
Because it suppresses these negative emotions, when in reality, you're just doubling down on a negative thing.
Right.
So you're getting fatter, you're getting sicker, you're getting unhealthier, all the while you're not focusing on some of these key attributes that are so important to winning in life.
100%. I love that. So he says, when it comes to finances, everyone ends up somewhere. Few people end up somewhere on purpose. Are you going to end up somewhere on purpose? So he says, so he talks about God. He talks about Jesus focusing on money. Why does he focus on money? He says God's message is clear. Without clear thinking and wise planning, every one of us is susceptible to bondage to money. A millionaire as much as a homeless person. And he talks about, there's so many stories we're not going to go through. The book is great, but he talks about how we send our kids to college, how we rack up this debt, how we don't teach them about money management, but we teach them how to put everything aside and wait until you get that job. And so he really just gives you an understanding of what we're doing to our children. Anything you have to say on that?
Well, yeah, I think this too, like, we're also in a different age of marketing.
Yeah.
Like when we grew up, it's basically the stuff that you saw either on billboards, in the newspaper, magazines, or TV, or you'd compare yourself to other friends.
Yep.
But now you have the power of social media. And social media tracks everything that you do. So they know what you've looked at, what ads have piqued your curiosity. And what's happened is they just keep putting the message right in front of you. Boom, boom, boom,
right.
boom. So before you know it, you're like, oh my goodness, my reticular activating system. We've talked about RAS in the past. You're like, everywhere I go, every time I look, it's like I need these new shoes or I need these new whatever it is. And it's constantly being bombarded in front of your face. And so I think it's added another enticement in your life of it's like, well, it's always there. So I had to get it because, you know, I just kind of needed it.
Right.
It's something that I needed. And so I don't want this to feel like we're just beating you down with like things that you have to do. I mean, the reality is I'm letting you all know that if you're in that bondage of it's living paycheck to paycheck, or if you're in the bondage of you're not able to pay off your credit cards, someone else is winning, and that someone else that's winning is not you. And so our hope is
I think it's having an awareness.
that one, it triggers your awareness,
Right.
but two, you're willing to do something for a small period of time, for a small season in time.
He talks about that.
That you can get yourself out of the hole.
Yep.
So that you can start actually winning, living, and giving like the way that you truly want to.
So good. I love that.
Because that's our life. Like I just showed my friend yesterday a pic. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I won't be able to find it fast enough. But it was a picture of a van that someone gave us because our van had exploded on the side of the road. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And so we were living paycheck to paycheck. We always paid off our credit cards, but it was paycheck to paycheck. And it's like Dave Ramsey also teaches you, save up $1,000. It's called your oh no. Like, oh, did we say that with the Minnesota accent?
Oh no fund.
Oh no fund. And in that oh no fund, you get $1,000 saved up. Some people would hide it in their freezer, like put it in water and freeze it. But it's like if something bad happens, that's what it's used for. And do you remember? We never had that.
No,
Why?
every time our
Because
oh no
we get
fund
it
was
there.
built up, something broke.
The house would flood. The AC would go out.
Every time.
The tiles would start falling off in our Oklahoma home. Like it was constant. But we never went without.
Right.
We never went without.
Yeah.
Now, we weren't able to live and give like we wanted to.
Right.
But we never went without.
It's being mindful. It's understanding that this spoke in your life is important to address and to go, how can I fix it? And so he asked the question, what are your financial visions? What are your goals? Do you have them written down? There's so many things that he talks about where there is no vision, the people perish. But I love that he shares a story. Do you care if I read it?
I would love to hear it.
It's super great.
This is your life. I've been talking way too much.
No, it's great. So he said there was a golf club or a golf tournament going on, and a fan looked at the champion golfer, and he said, I would love to play golf like you. The champion looked at the man, and he said, no, you wouldn't.
I like this story.
I know. Startled, the man said, oh, yes, I would give anything to do what you do. Again, the pro golferman said, no, you wouldn't. The fan persisted until the man said, so many people say to me that they want to do what I've done, but no one is willing to do what I did over the course of time. I used to get up at 5 a.m. every single day, hit golf balls until my hands were bleeding. I would hit and hit and hit and hit and continue practicing hours after everyone else was gone. No one is willing to do what I did, but everybody wants what I have.
Ooh, there it is.
Super great, right? He said in the same way you can look at people financially. You don't know what they did over the course of years. Like, people could look at us today, and we are wise with our money, and we still learn, and we are completely different today than we were when we first got married and in years into that marriage. But nobody actually knows what we gave up, the things that we didn't buy, how hard we worked for those years to make sure we didn't have any debt going into when we were having children. Like, we worked really hard, and every time we were blessed with some money, we put it towards a debt. And so oftentimes you're like, but I really want to, I'm just going to go to Target for one thing, right? There are some things that I would just say be mindful about, whether it's shutting off certain things on your internet, getting rid of certain apps, not going to certain stores. Like, if this is hindering you in any way in your life, or if you look at money as like, money is evil, right? Oftentimes people are like,
money's evil.
No, money is not evil. Money is a tool. Money, in fact, is a tool. Yes, that helps you to bless your family and other people. It is the love of money. He talks about that. It's putting it above God. It's putting it above anything else in your family. The love of money is evil. Money itself is a tool. It's not like money sitting on the table and just doing anything without you physically doing it, using the tool.
That's good.
Right?
I like that.
So it really is just an awareness of understanding that.
These
are some questions.
I was just curious. So, like, would these be some good things to share with them?
Yeah.
I haven't read this part yet.
Well, he just says some simple things like write a 5-year financial vision. And again, it's not overnight, right? So maybe you need to go through the Dave Ramsey plan. If you're looking for a tool, Dave Ramsey is great to help you understand where to start and understanding the debt snowball.
I would say all of that. Debt snowball, Dave Ramsey plan, that's unbelievably perfect for the people. If you happen to fall in that category of, if you're that 75% of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, or if you're a part of the 60% of people who are not paying off their credit cards, let's just start there.
Right.
Okay? Let's just start right there. And let's create a plan. If you need help with that, send us a message. We'd love to be. I actually love this kind of stuff.
He's a money numbers person.
I do enjoy helping people with this aspect, but we can give you all the tools. We're not financial planners.
No.
So I'm just telling you that right now.
Not going to help you with your taxes.
Not going to help you with that. Even though we do have a really cool tax story. We'll share that another day.
Yeah.
But the reality is, let's start there. And if part of you are like, you're the other part of a percentage where you're like, I don't need that. I don't even like Dave Ramsey. Guess what? It's probably because you're a small business owner. And there's actually a lot of ways that you can leverage debt to make more money using other people's money.
As a business.
So if that's you, guess what? Send us a message. I'd love to talk to you about that as well. But I think it's important to have a plan. And then once you have a plan, you have to stick to the plan.
Yep.
And you're going to be tested. I'm just letting you know right now. Especially if that oh no fund is really something where you're like, I really should probably work hard, set aside $1,000. You're going to be tested. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you set out for a goal that you want to achieve, you will be tested. Because if you're not being tested, it means that you're not changing. If you're not changing, you're staying the same. You're staying in that hypnotic rhythm. And that's not what we want for our lives.
So good. He just talks about writing down your goals, writing down a budget. I love that you said all of that. I would just say, so in the last book that we did, The Compound Effect, he talks about what gets measured gets managed. We talk about if you measure your food, you manage it. If I were to give you a piece of paper for a week and I were to say, write down everything that you eat, because sometimes people message me and I walk them through, right? It's not working, it's not working. And then what happens is they're like, ooh, yeah, I went to this party. They don't want to tell me what they ate, and then it comes out. Same with your money. If you were to have a piece of paper in your pocket with a pen, and every time you were going to spend money, you had to write it down, you might, and then somebody was going to hold you accountable because you said, I want to pay off debt. You might think twice about buying the extra shoes or going through the Starbucks line 3 times that day. Like, you're going to think about it if you have to write it down, right? Yeah. It's a level of accountability. This is what I loved, and I'm excited to share more about this later, but the event that I was at, the women's event, Terry Savelle, incredible. What I loved is she casted vision for her finances. She casted vision for what they wanted. She wrote it on her mirror in her bathroom, and they wanted to, and I'll say the fastest story. She needed $11,000 for her daughter to pay off her debt for that year. So every time she was blessed with money, she would put it in either in an envelope, and she would cross it off, and she was visually keeping track, right? Every $50, every $100, every $1,000 until she had that money saved up. She was mindful. She saw it. She knew what she was going after, and she crossed off everything that she was able to accomplish until she got there. That will help you because it's in front of your face.
So what I hear you say in that story is they were going for the 11,000.
Yep.
But typically, like, we're just waiting for the 11,000, and we don't celebrate those small victories all along the way.
Or maybe your goal is to pay off debt. So write out your first credit card and write it somewhere and just cross it off every time you're blessed with some money. Be financially responsible. If this is something that is hindering you, or if you're like, I would love to, it's important.
Can I share one more?
Yes.
I think this is the most important. If this has been of value to you, I appreciate the nice comments. I appreciate those of you who have shared. I even like seeing the laughing emojis and the hearts. Those are pretty cool to see.
Or if you have some ideas that have helped you pay off debt.
And I also like just sharing this with people who, I know the beginning was a little sketchy, but I really feel like this has been some solid info.
Yeah.
This is a game changer because I know this. Most people get a divorce, they break up because of bad communication. They're unequally yoked, and they just don't have their finances. Like they may have their own thoughts for finances, but they don't have a shared vision. There's just vision. So it means there's 2 visions. So when you as a family can get a single vision for what you're going for, it helps in everything. And while a lot of these were tactics to get ahead, to kind of break the bondage and getting out of the hole, I want to encourage you that it's probably because a lot of you are trying to make it work living on 100% of your income. If you don't have a church that you're plugged into, I want to encourage you, go to life.church. Start there. Start listening to Craig's messages. Check out church online. If you're in the Minnesota area, come join us. We'd love to have you come join us at our church. We absolutely love where we go. But you have to find a church where you can get plugged into. Why? Because it's going to help with your spiritual growth. It's going to help with your relationships. Those things are so, so important. When you have a community matters. But here's the key. You're living off 100% of your income. 10% of that income, it's called the tithe. That's the Lord's. Okay? That goes back to God.
Yeah.
When you start giving up that 10%, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, 10% of my income, that's crazy. Like that could go towards the debt. It's true. But I would rather live off of 100% of God's blessing than 100% of my income. Because if you can give that 10% with a cheerful and gladful heart, I promise you, time and time again, the Lord has never let us down. Like the Father is always taking care of us. If you can get to that point to where you're living off of the 90%, you're giving away the 10, that 90% is going to go so much further than trying to do 100% of it on your own.
I think that applies in any area of your life. Anytime you're trying to do it on your own, I think that's why you just feel like so many people are, not so many people, I hate using absolutes. But like if you don't have peace, we talked about your spiritual spoke. If you're struggling in relationships, there's a relationship spoke. All of these things are correlated together, right? I'm excited to talk about the health spoke tomorrow.
That'll be fun.
It's just important. It's important to pay attention to all of these, not just one of them, because if one of them is broken, it affects all the other ones.
So good. Well, I think that's a wrap for today.
That's a wrap.
We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in.
If you want to see all the questions, go grab the book, go through it, take notes, write them down, because he does give you things to write down and be mindful of. He asks a lot more questions, so the book is great.
And a lot of you, I did see that you're brand new here. So comment new down below. We'd love to connect with you. You can go to ketomomsecrets.com, and the previous book studies that we've done, the different chapters and the different books are also there under
all the books for the last year we've done.
The book club are there. We got some great information there. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Your presence matters.
We'll talk to you later.
Have a fantastic day.
Bye.